Good
Shah sir,
afternoon,
please speak
everyone.
loudly. Shah sir, speak loudly. Your voice is very low.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jaideep Shah, working as assistant professor. It's my privilege to introduce you today's speaker, Dr. Chandrasekhar and Bhende. He's working as assistant professor at School of Electrical Sciences at IIT Bhubaneswar. He did his MTech in Integrated Power Systems from VNIT in 2003. He completed his PhD from IIT Delhi Electrical Engineering Department in 2008. His area of research are renewable energy, power quality, active power filters, operation and control of microgrids, and many. He received Innovative PhD Thesis Award in 2009, given by the Indian National Academy of Engineering. He published more than 23 journal and conference papers. Total number of citation 1994, H index 17, I10 index 23. His topic of today's presentation is islanding detection in inverter-based distributed generation. I welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir. Please start your session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shah sir. So, well, so let me first start with island detection on inverter-based distributed generation. Okay, so I will take, because I have to take around 2 hours. I will take two schemes. Okay, which in which one of my PhD student has worked in this. Okay, now, well, first of all, well, let me start with like this. Of course, we all know that what is microgrid and all those things, but I just want to recap all those things. Okay, so we know that what is distributed generation. Distributed generation means it is not a centralized generation; it is a decentralized generation. Okay, so for example, for example, we can put PV on a rooftop. Okay, so there are many houses can keep PV on the rooftop, so that becomes like a distributed generation. So generation is distributed. Okay, not like a centralized, not like our big thermal power plant. Okay, so generations are distributed, and now it's the era of that. Okay, so even might be in every city there are small PV plants, or even the rooftop plants are there. Okay, rooftop PV powers are there. So therefore, these are the distributed generations. Okay, and then we define the micro grid and small grid and nano grid and blah blah blah. So these are some definitions. Okay, which are not exactly like this. It is just tentative. So like micro, we say 1 watt to 5 kilowatt, but not necessary. Okay, it's not hard and fast definitions of those things. Okay, so now, uh, now what is happening that now what are the there are various technical issues or challenges when your distributed generation is penetrating into the existing network. See, already our network is very complex. If you remember 2012 blackout, okay, it was because of cascade failure of many generators generating stations. Okay, so and then we have load frequency control, we have generation control, we have this load dispatch centers. Okay, so to maintain the frequency and to maintain the voltage, basically our system, our controls are already very complex. Okay, apart from circuit breakers and relay and then auto recloser and all those things. Okay, so we have that, we have the existing like conventional generations. Okay, which are at least controllable in nature, like thermal power plant, hydro power plant, nuclear power plant. So output you can control. Okay, but in renewable sources, either you take PV or either you take wind, we cannot control it, right? So it is something like a intermittent nature of the power. Okay, which we are adding into our grid. Okay, and that is posing more challenges to our existing network. Okay, so and it is not central located. Suppose maybe after 50 years, maybe 25% of the homes of our country may have the rooftop solar array. Okay, and that rooftop solar array, not only you are consuming the power in your house, you can also sell the power to the grid or to the utility, right? Okay, so two way. Okay, so you can imagine that so the whole things becomes control control becomes, it will be too much complex, you know. So control becomes too complex because of the penetration of the DG, okay, and more you will penetrate, okay, the control will become more and more complex, okay. So there are few, few technical issues, or challenges we can say, okay. One is a grid synchronization, okay. Other is maintaining system stability, then power quality, then reactive power coordination, okay. And one of them is like a islanding detection, okay. Now let's see what is the islanding detection, okay. So now first of all, what is islanding, okay. Now the islanding is of two types, okay. One is like intentional, it is for maintenance purpose. So this is okay, this for maintenance purpose, so we take all precautions because it's for maintenance purpose. So this have has, pre-planned kind of thing, okay. So it will not create a much trouble to us because we are planning properly, okay. However, the other kind of islanding, okay, which is happen because of inadvertent uh, effect, okay. Now let us say first what is the islanding, okay. It is a condition in which a portion of the utility system that contains both DG and the load continues operating while this portion is electrically separated from the main utility, okay. So what happens, that let me explain from this, okay. This is the utility or grid, okay. This is the microgrid, okay. You can say that this is the microgrid, okay. So microgrid consists of your sources, your local loads, okay, and of course your control within that local load, okay. That is the microgrid, okay. Now suppose, suppose some major fault has happened here in this side, okay, somewhere here in the utility or grid, okay. So when any fault happens, okay, we know that the when any fault happens, it is something like a short circuit, okay, and the heavy current flows, okay, the voltage collapses and the heavy current flows, right, okay. So and that heavy current feeds by all the sources, right. The current is flowing, okay, right, and so it is feeding by all connected sources, right, okay. So that heavy current, so this microgrid also will feed that heavy current, okay, and therefore in that process this microgrid may be in the trouble, okay. It may have its own control, so control, okay, so control may mal-operate, or those inverters may not function well, okay. Therefore therefore so when severe disturbance happens to this side, okay, so to safeguard the microgrid from that disturbance, okay, what they do, they do the islanding of the microgrid, okay. So they have a something like a switch, okay, between microgrid and the utility or grid, okay, and then if something bad happens this side, then they switch off the this, they open this switch, okay. So that is called as islanding, okay, that is called as islanding. Well, it happens automatically, okay, islanding could happen automatically, okay, but we have to detect it, okay, whether islanding has happened or not, okay. Because suppose we are here, okay, we are here, suppose somebody is here, somebody is working here, okay. So people, we should know that, okay, islanding has happened, okay. So therefore now, okay, so this is called as the unintentional islanding, okay, inadvertent or unintentional islanding, okay. Now unintentional islanding can lead to, okay, power quality problems, okay. See what kind of power quality problems will be there. There might be a if there is no power balance, okay, of active and reactive power. See, once this switch is open, this the source power and the local load power should be matched, okay, in both aspect, active power as well as reactive power, okay. And then otherwise the frequency and the voltage will at PCC will change, right, will not be at nominal value, right, okay. So there will be a power quality problems, okay, interface with the grid protection devices, okay, yeah, sorry, interference with the grid protection devices, right, okay, equipment damage, okay, it may damage the equipment. Suppose you have, instead of PV, you have windmill here, right, okay. So 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 even though you are islanding, suppose, so you have the islanding switch has opened, and then you have to match with the source power with the local load power. And suppose you have few wind turbines here, right, and to match the source load source power to local load, okay, you need to switch off some of the, let's say, wind turbines, okay, but immediately you cannot switch off it, right? It will continue to produce the power, right? And that, so source power may be more than the local load power, okay, and then, and because of that, this voltage across the local load or voltage across inverter may increase, right? Okay, so therefore that increase in voltage may damage the equipment, okay, or increasing current may damage the equipment, right? Okay, so similarly, suppose some personnel are working, okay, on this microgrid side, and suddenly heavy current flows or suddenly heavy voltage appears. So obviously there will be a safety hazard problem to those personnels who are working. Okay, so those kind of, so unintentional islanding, they're leading to those kind of problems. Okay, and voltage frequency may deviate beyond the permissible limit. Okay, so therefore, due to these reasons, okay, it is very important to detect the islanding quickly and accurately. Okay, now well, these are some IEEE standards. Also there are some IEC standards as well. Okay, so they requires that islanding detection within 2 seconds of its formation. That is one of the IEEE standards. Okay, now the another important thing is that, okay, we can, okay, so basically islanding is happens, okay, islanding happens, okay, so that we have to protect the microgrid, okay, and then we have to detect that islanding, whether islanding has happened or not. Okay, now we have to understand one thing is that this islanding this islanding process is allowed only, only for, low power network. Okay, generally in the uh, or you can say medium power network, generally in the low distribution network, low voltage distribution network. Okay, so nowadays, this there are so new grid codes are coming up, have come up actually, new grid codes, okay, which is given by the, mostly given by the Central Electricity Authority of India. Okay, so new grid codes have come up already, and they are saying that will we cannot, island the large microgrid, large power microgrid. Okay, however, we can be allowed to island the low power or low power microgrid. The reason behind is that, when you try to isolate the large power microgrid, okay, so the bulk power will be removed from the existing network. Okay, and that may create the instability in the network. Okay, therefore, for large microgrids, large power microgrids, they are saying no, you cannot isolate or island the microgrid. Okay, however, you have to see some other method, that even though there is a major disturbance in the grid happens, the microgrid should run up to at least up to certain time. Okay, and and many of the disturbances are momentary disturbances. Okay, so if disturbance goes off, okay, those microgrids, those large power microgrids will again come back to their initial position. Okay, but they allow the low power and the low voltage network connected microgrids to isolate from the main grid. Okay, so now therefore, okay, so island detection can be considered requirement only for low power distributed generation system. Okay, now uh, well, now there is one term in this island detection is the non-detection zone. Okay, so non-detection zone means, what happens that it defines the reliability of the island detection method. Okay, it is defined in power mismatch space, that is del P versus del Q at the PCC. Okay, so islanding is not detectable within non-detection zone. So basically what happens that, now let's again consider this network. Okay, see what happens that when islanding happens, so this switch opens and the islanding, this switch opens and the islanding happens, right? Okay. So what happens that, so generally the islanding is detected. See what will happen, once again let me tell. Let's say normal operation. This switch is closed, right? Okay. When this switch is closed, if this source power is more than the local load power, then the extra power will go to the grid. Okay. Similarly, okay, when the source power is like a DG power is uh, less than the local load power, then that additional required power will come from the grid. Okay, so the power balance between the DG, between the grid and the local load, it maintains properly when it went to the grid or utility, right? Okay. Now imagine that suddenly this switch is open, right? Imagine that this suddenly this switch is open, okay, and there can be a mismatch in the those two powers, source power and the local load power. Okay, so if source power is more than the local load power, then obviously here voltage and frequency may be more at PCC. Okay, so so islanding detection is becomes easy because your voltage or your frequency goes beyond certain limit. Okay, and that is happening because of mismatch of DG power and the local load power. Okay, but there may be a condition that there may be a operating conditions in which, okay, the while opening this switch or while islanding this microgrid, this power and this power means DG power and the local load powers may be matching equally, right? So when those powers are matching to each other, okay, with more or less or with little mismatch, then there will be no deviation in voltage and frequency here at PCC. This is called as point of common coupling, okay, PCC. And therefore, under such conditions, the islanding detection would be very difficult. Okay, that is the most challenging part in the island detection of any system. Okay, and that what is nothing but what basically non-detection zone. Okay, so the mismatch of power. So after islanding, the mismatch of power between the DG and the local load, okay, if that mismatch of power is not much, okay, then your over voltage relay or under voltage relay, okay, or over voltage, or over frequency relay or under frequency relay will not operate. Okay, and that zone is called as the non-detection zone. Okay, so you can see that this is nothing but it's a space between del P and del Q. Okay, change in active power and change in reactive power. Okay, so now, well, so let's go to what are the techniques of unintentional islanding detection. So there are basically three techniques. In fact, there are four techniques. Okay, basically there are three techniques, and then if you combine them, then it becomes another technique. Okay, so communication based passive technique and active technique. Okay, so we can combine any of those methods, and it becomes the another hybrid technique. Okay, so this communication base is, it depends on the ICT things. Okay, so it is, uh, well, anyway, in coming smart grids things, of course this communication has to play a big role, so it is gaining interest, but right now it is a very costly affair. Okay, communication, because communication need to be added into that. Okay, so it's costly affair. Okay, so right now we have this passive and active techniques so far implemented in the inverters. Okay, so now, so I will just give the glimpse of one passive technique and one active technique. Okay. Now, let's see what is the passive and what is the active. Okay. Let's see first passive. So passive is something like, these methods are based on detection of change of power system parameter. Okay, typically amplitude, frequency, phase, or harmonics of the voltage after the disconnection. Okay, so when you isolate the system or microgrid, okay, the voltage deviation at the PCC point, okay, PCC point already I told you, okay, at the PCC point, okay, voltage deviation at the PCC point or voltage deviation at the inverter side, input inverter side, okay, whatever, okay. So basically these are the local points available, okay, within microgrid, so these are the or within this zone, okay, within this zone, okay, these are the local parameters can be available with us, okay. It may be voltage, it may be a current, it may be a frequency, okay. So these methods are based on the detection of change of power system parameter, okay. It may be a amplitude, frequency, phase, or harmonic voltage after the disconnection, okay. It is based on the measurement of locally obtained parameter, okay. It may be PCC voltage, it may be of DC inverter voltage, okay. It has no interference with the normal operation of the system. It is simple to implement, okay. It is simple to implement. However, so these are the merit points, these are the demerit points, okay. It has a large non-detection zone, okay. So when this so when this large non-detection zone comes, hello, is anybody want to ask something?
No, sir. Sorry, please continue.
Okay, sorry, okay. So when this large non-detection zone comes, when you have very less power mismatch between the DG and the local load, okay, at that time it becomes very difficult to identify the islanding, okay, or to detect the islanding with the passive methods, okay. So okay, so this is one demerit or challenge, you can say. I would not say demerit, but it's challenge, okay. So uh, sorry, then another is that another difficulty is the proper selection of threshold is highly required, okay. So when I am saying that the voltage deviation happens after islanding, so how much voltage deviation? 10%, 20%, 30%, okay. So what should be my threshold I can keep, so that I can say, okay, if my voltage deviates more than 30%, then I will say, okay, islanding has happened, okay. So that threshold, deciding this threshold or selecting the threshold also becomes the challenge in this condition, okay. So these are the various passive methods, okay. There are many passive methods. Now come to the active method, okay. Now what is active method, okay. So now in active method, okay, so in active method, these drawbacks of passive method, okay, is overcome, okay. So now first of all we have to understand what is active method, okay. The primary concept of active methods relies on the generation of small perturbations at the output of PV inverter, generating small changes in one of the power system parameter. So what happens that, let me again go back to the system, okay. So this is the inverter, right? So what is role of inverter? The role of inverter is to manage the power flow from here, okay. So it is basically taking power or controlling the power flow from PV system to the local load or to the grid, okay, and its responsibility to maintain the voltage and the frequency at the PCC, okay. Just a minute, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, I'm sorry, okay. So so inverter has its own control, okay. You must have seen that the active power control and reactive power control, or maybe in a simplest manner you must have seen the DQ reference frame control, okay, where D corresponds to the active power and Q corresponds to the reactive power control, right, okay. So inverter has its own control, okay, for managing the power flow between source DG and the load, or DG and the grid, okay. So the inverter has its own control, okay. Now the idea of active power active detection method is that, okay, to uh, to to embed this small perturbation, okay, to add intentionally to add the small perturbation into the uh, into the control of the inverter, okay, so that because of that small perturbation into the control of the inverter, okay, after islanding that small perturbation should get magnified, okay, should get amplified, and you will have some major changes at the output of the inverter terminal, okay, and then those we will detect, okay, and once we detect that we'll say that okay, it's a islanding condition, okay. So it's very interesting phenomena, okay. So basically here, so I'm repeating again. So the primary concept of active method relies on the generation of small perturbations at the output of PV inverter, generating small changes in one of the power system parameter. Okay, that may be a frequency, phase, harmonics, P and Q, etc. Okay. So now what are the drawback of this method? The drawback is that basically we are injecting additional disturbance to enhance the deviation after the islanding. So we are injecting additional disturbance particularly in the control of the inverter. Okay. So because of that, there may be a stability issue of the control system. Okay. There may be of deterioration of power quality. Okay. After the islanding detection. Okay. So such things may happen. Okay, in active methods. Okay. However, the advantage of active method is that it has a very negligible non-detection zone, okay, and therefore it has a very accurate and fast detection, okay. So well, all scheme has plus and minuses, okay. So well, now so my motivation is that to overcome those basically those problems, okay. So for example, if it deteriorates the power quality, okay, how we can overcome those, okay. So my aim is that to with the active method or with the passive method, okay, the to overcome those drawbacks or demerits of those methods, okay. So okay, so basically, so our motivation is that to overcome the high non-detection zone in passive method, okay. Suppose you are making the passive method, okay, or or to or to reduce the deterioration of power quality in active method, okay, fine, and maybe like something like a hybrid method which can give the better results, okay. Now, so so we have done one work on active method, which is I am going to present here right now, okay. So one of the active methods we have done the work, and that is the one method is called as development of active islanding detection technique using modified reactive power control strategy, okay. So we have seen some of the literature at that time. We got one good paper there in the active power island detection, okay, sorry, in the island detection technique, and that was called as the reactive power control strategy, okay. So let me first go let me first tell you what is this basically, okay. So during the islanding, the active power mismatch will cause the voltage deviation, okay, and the over voltage protection or under voltage protection relay can detect the islanding, okay. So deviation in the frequency depends on both active and reactive power mismatches, okay, and the over frequency protection or under frequency protection relay can detect the islanding, okay. This is what is generally happening, okay, fine. So this is same system I have drawn here, okay. This is our the DG source and inverter, okay. This is local load, this is small transmission line, this is the grid, okay, and this is the switch, okay, and this is the point of common coupling, okay. Now, yeah. So for closely matched power condition, the means after islanding, okay, or during islanding. During islanding, if closely matched power condition means I'm talking about the source DG source power and local load power, okay. So closely matched means when during the islanding process, when the source power is closely matches to the load power, okay. That means source power means microgrid power, okay, or DG source power, okay. So for closely matched power condition, variation in voltage and frequency is not significant. Okay, to trip the over voltage or under voltage relay, okay, and non-detection zone is large. Okay, so to reduce the non-detection zone, one intentional perturbation signal is necessary to drip the voltage and frequency beyond threshold after islanding. Okay, this is what basically active method does. Okay, so the inverter based DGs are configured with the dedicated MPPT controller to obtain the maximum active power output irrespective of its connectivity to the grid, right? So we know that if the PV source is there, then we have, after PV we have an inverter, okay, and that inverter is basically the main purpose of the inverter is to control the power flow, not only control the power flow, also to work the PV arrays at their maximum power point, okay, that is MPP, maximum power point. Okay, so therefore this this fellow which the reference, basically this fellow means the reference 4. Okay, what he did that he gave the he proposed the island detection scheme based on the reactive power control. Okay, so he didn't touch the active power control. Okay, he didn't touch the active power control. Okay, because it is dedicatedly MPPT controller is there. Okay, so he didn't disturb the active power control. Okay, but the reactive power control can be disturbed. Okay, for the alignment detection purpose. Okay, so therefore what he did that reactive power based control is a potent option for efficient and fast tracked alignment detection. So same thing he did. So in this scheme the reactive power mismatch is introduced. Reactive power mismatch is introduced by modifying the reactive power reference value. Okay, so if you remember, if those who are working in the microgrid control and grid integration, you know that this is the inverter control. Okay, and in inverter control we have let's say that of course there are many control schemes, but let's say you have DQ theory, DQ axis theory based control. So you have the active power control and you have decoupled active power control and the reactive power control. Okay, so that is called as DQ theory, which is decoupled active power and reactive power control. So there, while controlling it, we use the PI control and all those things. Okay, and the reference power. Okay, so there are two reference power. One is the active reference power and other is the reactive reference power. Okay, and as per those references, that control PI controller works. Okay, so therefore, and in this reactive power control island detection, the active power thing is not touched. Okay, because of MPPT dedicated controller. Okay, and the reactive power control is done. Okay, therefore in this scheme the reactive power mismatch is introduced by modifying the reactive power reference value. Okay, so the reactive power reference value is there. Okay, for example in normal operation what we do that our reactive power reference, okay, if you look at sorry, if you look at this diagram, okay, this is the your, let's say, PV source, this is the inverter. Okay, so and this load has a reactive power. Okay, so reactive power requirement, right? Okay, so in this case this source, a DC source, it cannot give the reactive power, but this inverter can give the reactive power. Okay, so the reactive power reference of this inverter control may be the Q reference of the load. Okay, maybe the Q reference of the load in normal condition. Okay, so that Q reference of the load, okay, so that Q reference of the inverter control, okay, in that Q reference, okay, the reactive power mismatch is introduced, okay, which will modify the reactive power reference value. Okay, so what I want to say that if you see this, okay, so in 4 what they are done. So in normal operation, okay, in normal operation when we don't think about islanding in detection, all those things, so this Q ref of inverter should be equal to the Q load, right? means the inverter should send the or should give the reactive power which is required by the load basically. Okay, this what generally happens in the normally in the normal control. Okay, so now to detect the islanding, okay, what this fellow has done, okay, so in 4, if the phase voltage at PCC is greater than or equal to the rated voltage during islanding, the reactive power reference value of the DG can be defined as, okay, so he modified this Q reference of the inverter with this, okay, so this is F minus A frequency, this is nominal frequency minus A, okay, and this is the VPCC minus, this is the actual measured voltage of PCC, this is nominal voltage, okay, at PCC, okay, nominal voltage means it's a let's say the 440 volt line to line, okay, and this K1 and K2 are the constants, okay. So here where K1 K2 are the positive values with A being set below the lower frequency threshold, okay, so frequency threshold is taken as 49.3, so his A value of A is 49.3 hertz, okay. Now the another thing is that when this voltage is more than, when the phase voltage is, when the voltage at PCC is more than the nominal, then this becomes the equation, just opposite way, this becomes the equation, okay. And here we have another thing, that is B, okay, where B is the upper frequency limit, that is 50.5 hertz, okay, fine. So in 4 he modified the those Q ref of the inverter, okay, to detect the islanding, okay. Now consider normal operating condition, okay. Now I'm not talking about the grid connected, I'm not talking about the to detect the islanding, I'm talking about the normal operating condition, okay, where it is grid connected, okay. Now let's say these parameters, okay, let's take these parameters, let's consider the Q load is 1000 VAR, okay, Q load is 1000 VAR, okay. So in normal operation, when the Q load requirement is 1000 VAR, so we assume that the inverter should produce that much VAR, okay, so that the load can take it, okay. Okay, fine. So now what will happen? So during normal operating condition, let's say VPCC is greater than Vn, and we have that formula, okay. As per that formula, we are getting Q ref is getting 200 VAR when VPCC is greater than Vn, okay, and when VPCC is less than Vn, we are getting 1600 VAR, okay. So you can see that during normal operation, okay, the requirement of the Q load is 1000 VAR, but the inverter is generating different VARs, okay. So the difference between the injected reactive power and the required reactive power by the load is large enough, okay, and it contributes to the, well, I will not talk to system instability, okay, but I will tell, okay, it's a like a poor power quality issue, okay, because you see the Q ref requirement of the load is 200 VAR, but your inverter is not able to give that. Sorry, if Q load requirement is 1000 VAR, but your inverter is only capable to give 200 VAR, okay, so unnecessarily it has to draw from the grid, right, okay. Similarly, the Q load requirement is 1000 VAR, but your inverter is producing 1600 VAR, okay, so unnecessarily it is increasing the current, right, okay. So therefore during normal operation, okay, this method basically is not so good, okay. So therefore we have tried to, so we found while working on this strategy, okay, we found those one drawback of this scheme which is given by the reference number 4, okay, and we tried to overcome on that drawback, okay. So our objective was formulating the reactive power mismatch, okay, after aligning, okay, to eradicate the non-detection zone and to achieve fast detection. This is what primary objective what I discussed earlier, okay. And then to maintain the system stability. Well, I will not use word stability right now because I have not done stability analysis, honestly speaking. Okay, but of course, to maintain the proper power quality during the normal operation. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Well, so what we have done, we have modified the equation. Okay, we have modified the equation. So when the PCC voltage is greater than this one, so we have modified the equation like this. Instead of that frequency term, okay, we added the phase angle term. Okay, so phase angle is nothing but the PCC voltage minus the nominal voltage. Okay, so phase angle of PCC voltage means measured PCC voltage minus the nominal voltage. So this nominal voltage, the angle of nominal voltage will come from the PLL. Okay. Okay. See what happens that when you synchronize the inverter with the grid. Okay. I am again. Shall I go back? Is my pace is okay? Am I very slow? Hello, Dr.
No,
Jadhav.
sir,
Is my
it's fine.
place
It's fine.
fine? Na?
It's
Okay.
going good, sir.
Yeah, please let me know because I'm just okay.
Yeah.
So let me go back again to show you what is the requirement of the grid connection. Okay. So main requirement of the grid connection is no that that see, sorry, see. So we have to synchronize this microgrid with the grid in normal operation. Okay. So main requirement is that to synchronize this inverter with the grid as far as frequencies are concerned. Okay, so what they do, they take the they take the they take the they use PLL. Okay, that is phase lock loop. Okay, so they use phase lock loop. Okay, to synchronize the inverter with the grid. Okay, and that phase lock loop gives the reference phase angle. Okay, reference phase angle for this to generate the voltage at PCC by the inverter control. Okay, therefore that this nominal voltage may have some phase angle. Okay, it may not be zero. Okay, it may have some phase angle. Okay, which will come from the PLL, that is phase locked loop. Okay, and therefore so this phase angle, voltage of phase angle minus voltage of the the phase angle of the nominal voltage. Okay, minus the phase angle of the measured voltage. Okay, so that theta we took it. Okay, and when everything is normal, okay, when things are normal, this theta is more or less zero. Okay, because both are coming from the PLL thing. Okay, so this coming from PLL and this voltage you are measuring. Okay, so this theta is more or less zero during normal operation. Okay, and then K1 and K3 are the constants. Okay, okay, well, so this one major changes we have done. So we have modified the equation for QREF. Okay, now another changes we have done that instead of taking here the simple RMS value. Okay, we took here positive sequence voltage. Okay, we took here positive sequence voltage. The reason is here, reason I am explaining here. In distribution network, the loads are always unbalanced. Okay, and hence there is a unequal voltages in all three phases. Okay, so what happens that in distribution network loads are unbalanced. Okay, and after inverter you have after inverter between the inverter output and your load point or PCC point. Okay, you may have some small feeder, and there is a filter. Okay, there is a filter, LCL filter, which may have some small value of R as well. Okay, so that so the impedance after the inverter and between the PCC voltage. Okay, because of that impedance. Okay, because of that impedance and because of unbalanced load. Okay, the voltage drop across that impedance will be unbalanced. Okay, and therefore your PCC voltage will be unbalanced. Okay, so in distribution network the loads are always unbalanced and hence unequal voltages in all three phases. Okay, so therefore the VPCC positive sequence voltage are considered to make the difference between the positive sequence voltage and the RMS voltage. okay, large for higher unbalanced condition. Okay, so we'll see what are the good results by taking this thing. Okay, and then we have done the, then also we have done the, so the question came to our mind that okay, what could be the, what could be the value of k1 and k3, because these are constants values. Okay, so what we have done, that we have done optimization, we have optimized those values. Okay, so we have made this objective function. Okay, and our role is to maximize this q ref. Okay, after islanding. Okay, what is the objective? Basically we have to we have to basically maximize this q ref. Okay, after the islanding. Okay, so that some deviations will occur at the output of inverter. Okay, and that way we can detect the islanding. Okay, however here we have to one care we have to take, that this q ref, okay, which we are maximizing. Okay, it should be less than the q max allowable. So q max allowable means it is the uh, the the kVA rating of the inverter. Okay, the VA rating of the inverter. Okay, so the q reference should be less than that q max allowable. So VA rating square minus your maximum power square, maximum real power square, root over. Okay, so that is your q max allowable. Okay. Well, uh, now, yeah, now, so this we have done. So everything was going well, we got some good results. Okay, we overcome the some of those issues which was occurring in the method given by the reference number 4. Okay, then we realized that, we realized, or we got into one more problem. Okay, so what my PhD student observed that, okay, uh, when the when the frequency uh, when the frequency was near to threshold level. Okay, because see, in this now before that let me go to the this flow chart of detection scheme. Okay, so here sorry, don't look at this one. Okay, don't look at this second one is our addition. Okay, so here, so we know that the conventional schemes we have seen that, so when there is a voltage deviation is more, directly you can go to the islanding detection. Okay, but if voltage deviation is
Hello. Hello. Sir, actually, you are not audible. Hello. Hello.
yeah, there was
Okay.
interconnection from my
It's
side.
okay. Okay, it's okay. Thank you. Yeah, please continue.
Okay, now, yeah, oh sorry, yeah, 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 just yeah, sorry, yeah. So well, so when the voltage will be out of limit, then directly you can go for detection and ion detection. Okay, when the voltage within limit, then we sense the PC voltage and we see that whether voltage is greater than or less, and accordingly this QRF will be generated. Okay, and then this QRF, after generating this QRF, will measure the frequency of the PCC voltage. Okay, and
Excuse me, sir.
then we will have this.
Sir, your screen
Yeah.
is not visible.
Oh, okay, okay. I have shared it, but maybe. Okay, once again I am sharing it.
Yeah, yeah. Please.
Just check now. Is it visible now?
No, sir, actually, not it.
Okay. Now please check now. Is it still? Or sometimes it takes time, so maybe we should just
Okay,
wait
sir,
for
we'll
1 minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Still didn't come?
Yes, sir. It's not coming actually. We are simply saying on screen that CB, that is your short name.
So shall I log in once again or?
Uh, I guess you are there still in meeting.
Otherwise, I will
because,
log in once again, I think.
Okay, sir. Okay. That we can try. Sure, sir.
What shall I log in once again? Huh?
Yeah, yeah. Please, sir. Please, please. That we can try. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, because I think.
There is a technical issue at the speaker side. Wait for some duration. Sir is joining back again. His screen is not shared, so he will join again. Please bear with us for some duration. Hello, sir.
Yeah, but now this screen sharing option is not. I think you have to enable from your side
Just
because it is not highlighting in my. Only meeting organizers and presenters can share. So that option I think you have to enable for me.
just a minute, sir. We are enabling.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. No problem.
Hello, sir. Now it is.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Wait a minute. Desktop. Yeah. Is it coming now?
Yes, sir. Now it is correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Just maximize. Just start the presentation. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah. So uh, well. So this is the first is the voltage limit. When you cross the voltage limit, it will go to detect ion detection. Okay. If not in the voltage limit, then of course we will check the PC voltage greater than or less than the nominal voltage, and then we will have this QRF or this QRF, and then once again we will measure the instantaneous frequency. Okay, and if that frequency is not in within limit, then it will go like a ion detection scheme. Okay, so that is the basic scheme. Okay, now so this is the voltage limits and this is the frequency limit. Okay, so if it is beyond this frequency, okay, then you can say okay, it go to the island detection. Okay, otherwise no. Okay, so so this is the basically frequency limit 49.3 hertz and 50.5 hertz. Okay, so what problem we got is that, so suppose the frequency is already at the threshold level. Okay, so in normal operation itself, suppose for example you take a Indian scenario. Okay, if you measure the frequency at your lab, okay, in your lab or maybe in your nearby your or substation in your premises, college premises also, you will see that the frequency is never at 50 hertz. Okay, somewhere deviation is there, something like 49.5 hertz or 49.6 hertz or 50.2 hertz or something like. Okay, so during normal operation itself, if frequency is near to the threshold, okay, under such condition, okay, under such condition, if some a small disturbance happens, okay, I would say normal disturbance, not the major disturbance. Okay, so let's say any power quality disturbance happens. Okay, okay, it is not a islanding detection. Okay, but it is a some other disturbance happens. Okay, and so under such condition, okay, so then because of that normal disturbance, the frequency deviation may occur. Okay, and because of that frequency deviation may cross the threshold. Okay, and false island detection will occur. Okay, so this problem we got actually, and then we really we got stuck up there, and then we tried to find out that what could be done to overcome this problem. Then what we did that we took the to enhance the therefore to enhance the robustness of the system, we took the wavelet transformation of the voltage phase angle. Okay, and then we extracted the energy entropy of this theta signal. Okay, and then this becomes the energy entropy. Okay, and we have added the one more detection criteria, okay, into the detection method. Okay, so those major changes we have done in this paper. Okay, so now our scheme is modified with the equation. Okay, we kept theta instead of that f minus a and f minus b. Okay, and then we kept positive angle, positive sequence voltage. Okay, and then we add in decision of island detection, we add one more. This is the nothing but what entropy of this one. Okay, so we are measuring, not only measuring the PCC frequency, but also we are computing the entropy of phase angle using DWT, that is district violet transform, and we added it here. It is a two level decision making. Okay, so even though it is under frequency, okay, even though the your this thing is under frequency. Okay, so we have added one more condition here to get the signal for islanding detection. Okay, so when both those conditions will be satisfied, then only you will get the island detection signal. Okay, so now these are the results. Okay, so you can see that this is the uh, performance of the proposed scheme during islanding. Okay, so this is the we can see that this is the, well, let's see, this is the let's assume that this is the frequency threshold, okay, which is 50.5, okay. Assume that the islanding occurs here, right, at 0.5, okay, and your conventional under frequency tech method, you see it is taking so much time, and even though after 0.8 second, it is not crossing the threshold to detect the islanding, okay. Now if you come to the RPC method, okay, that is reactive power control method proposed by 4, okay, reference 4, you can see that it is detecting here, okay, and the proposed method which we have proposed is detecting more faster than the RPC method, okay. Now if you look at this reactive power quantity, okay, so if you look at the Q load, so this black line is Q load, okay, black line is Q load, sorry, this is the Q load, plain black line is Q load, okay, and then this black dashed line is Q reference produced by this method 4, basically not 24, by wrongly written 24, it is by 4, method 4, RPC method, okay, and this dotted one is a Q reference produced by our method, proposed method, okay. So you can see that the islanding is occurring here at 0.5, okay, and you can see the before islanding means the normal operation. This is normal operation. This is the zoom portion I have mentioned here, okay. You can see that the normal operation, the Q ref given by the proposed scheme is matching with the Q load requirement, okay, whereas this Q ref given by the method 4, okay, is not matching, okay, there is a difference, okay. And after islanding, you can see that after islanding, the proposed method is giving more variations in the reactive power, okay, in the reactive power control, in the reactive power reference of the inverter control, okay, and that more variation in the reactive power reference of the inverter control, okay, will deviate the frequency of the output of the inverter, okay, and that deviation in the frequency we will catch it for the faster islanding detection, okay. So why we are getting faster detection? Because our it is very high, okay, in the initial itself our Q ref is more, okay, and that what is catching the frequency deviation, sorry, giving the more frequency deviation at the inverter output which we are catching it actually, okay. Now come to the this DWT analysis of voltage phase angle, okay. So you can see here that, so let's say if you look at the voltage phase angle, normal operation it is almost 0, okay. If you look at the sag, when sag starts, it will give some deviation for the momentary, okay, it will give some deviation in the for a small period, okay, and when sag ends, at that time also it will give some momentary deviation. However, when the islanding occurs, okay, it will give the continuous disturbance or deviation, okay. So this is the voltage sag, okay, coefficient, okay, and these are the this is the because you know that in the Wavelet transform, okay, it gives the voltage, it gives the coefficients, okay, low frequency coefficients and then high frequency coefficients. So they are called as approximate coefficient and detailed coefficients, okay. Basically what the discrete Wavelet transform does actually, it divides it goes on dividing the frequency band. Suppose your frequency band is 1000, okay, so it will divide in 0 to 500 and then 500 to 1000, okay. That is one first coefficient level. In second coefficient level, that 0 to 500 is again getting divided, okay. So that 0 to 500 is getting divided into 0 to 250 and 250 to 500, okay. So this way, at every coefficient level, at every decomposition level, okay, the frequency bands are getting divided into half of half, okay. So that levels are the basically and at different level you will get the such kind of waveforms. Okay, so you can see that. So this is a little coefficient. Okay, so the lower frequency band are called as approximate coefficient, and the higher frequency bands are called as the detailed coefficients. Okay, so you can see that the detailed coefficients. Okay, at what level I don't remember exactly. Okay, you can see here now if you look at this diagram. Okay, so when sag starts you are getting this kind of variation, when sag end you are getting this kind of variation, but when aligning occurring you are getting this kind of variation. Okay, so that's what we have captured actually. Okay, so if you calculate the entropy of this signal, okay, then you can say that when sag or swell happens, okay, this entropy will be less here and here entropy will be more. Okay, so that's what we are basically considering for the aligning detection. Okay, now well yeah, so well now another result, and so let's go to the result and discussion furthermore. Okay, you can see here that is yeah, so now this is for uh, this is for 2% unbalance and 3% balance. So let's see first what is there. So the dotted lines are for RPC method, that is method number 4. Okay, reactive power control method. Okay, and the solid lines are for our proposed method. Okay, so you can see that the so black line is for 2% unbalance and pink line is for 3% unbalance. Okay, so we can see that for RPC method, when you have a 2% unbalance in the load and when you have a 3% unbalance, okay, in both the conditions the detection time is more or less same. Okay, however in our proposed method, okay, if unbalance is less, detection is more faster. Okay, so that's what we have achieved with the proposed scheme. Okay, so the proposed scheme detects the aligning condition faster than the existing scheme. Okay, in RPC method, sorry, it's not 24, it's 4. Okay, the align detection time is almost same for the different unbalanced load conditions. Okay, fine. Now sorry, just a minute. Okay, in the proposed method, it's observed that if the unbalance is more, the detection is faster due to inclusion of positive sequence PC voltage in the algorithm. Okay, so this is basically happening because what we have done in our scheme, we have included this positive sequence voltage in our scheme. Okay, now we have taken the 13 bus system. We have also taken the case studies on 39 bus system. Okay, so but I am not showing that. I have just taken it for 13 bus system. So this is the grid. Okay, this is the small micro grid. Okay, here we have PV system and that is his inverter. Okay, and then this is the transformer of the inverter. Okay, and I have many case studies. Okay, so feature extraction during DWT analysis in 13 bus system. Okay, so these are the events, entropy and threshold. Okay, you can see that for different variations. So these are the voltage variation and fault conditions. Okay, so you can see that the threshold is this much. Okay, and the entropy is less than the threshold. Okay, these are all, I guess, non-aligning cases. Okay, normal disturbances. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell me please.
No problem. You continue.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. So now if you look at the, so these are basically, try to understand, these are the non-islanding events basically. These are not islanding events. Okay. So sag. So if some sag is there, but island indentation has not happened. Okay. Some small fault happens, but islanding has not happened. Okay. Similarly, load switching happens. I'm sorry, some of the
Yeah,
microphones are on. I request you
yeah.
to switch off those microphones. Hello. Some of the participants' microphone is on, so it is creating noise for others.
Yes, sir. It is muted now.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay. So these are all non-islanding conditions basically. Okay. See, it's not necessary that for every disturbance islanding will happen. Okay. There may be a small sag, so islanding may not happen. There may be a fault, but it is a may not be severe fault, so islanding cannot happen. Okay. So therefore, and similarly, the extreme frequency imbalance scenario. So already the frequency is near to threshold and then sag happens. Okay, which is not islanding condition. So you can see that in that case the entropy level is lesser than the threshold. So island detection will not be means the detection scheme will not give the island detection trip signal. Okay. Okay, so these are the frequencies actually. Frequency performance during non-islanding events. Okay, so in this case the frequency is not crossing the limits. Okay. Similarly, these are another results for the non-islanding events. Okay, faults are there, but islanding has not happened. Okay. Yeah. Now you can see here. Yeah. Yeah, you can see that if when we the main reason behind the decomposition main reason behind the taking DWT decomposition of theta into the decision of this. Okay, you can see that if when the threshold is near to the sorry when the frequency is near to threshold. Okay, so even under okay, and then suddenly sag happens. Okay, so but this sag, due to this sag, island detection is not happening. Sorry, islanding is not happening. Okay, therefore you should not get the island detection trip signal. Okay, however, you can see that the because of this sag, the frequency goes beyond limit. Okay, frequency goes beyond limit, and this may gives the false island detection trip signal. Okay, so this is what we have achieved. So this is the conclusion. Okay, improved power quality, fast detection, less non-detection zone. Okay, these are the references. Okay, and if you want to have uh, if you want to read more, you can this paper is published into IIT GTD. Okay, if you want to read more, you can use this you can read this paper. Okay, so now questions are welcome for this.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, first question is from my side only.
Yeah.
So, sir, for this islanding, not only for islanding, but for other that impact studies of distributed generation, we are always referring IEEE 1547. And in that, we are seeing that one sentence they have given that this is typically applied to distribution systems. So, and many people are working on hosting capacity analysis at distribution system only. But
Okay.
we see that if we connect this distributed generation, even at transmission level, also some impacts are there. If we increase the amount of penetration, so they might be there. But as if now, is there any standard which is analyzing impacts of this distributed generation on even your transmission network?
No impacts. See, as far as studies concerned, we can do all kind of studies. Whatever you said, it is rightly correct. Okay.
Okay.
So, but what but as far as implementation is concerned, okay. Suppose you are the small PV power owner. Okay, so then in that case we have to abide to the grid codes. Okay, so as far as so we should refer the grid codes imposed by a particular country. Okay, so as I told you that this islanding detection, okay, is generally valid for low power distribution network, okay, or low voltage distribution network, because what is happening that the our grid codes, particularly made by the Central Electricity Authority, okay, few years back, around 4 or 5 years back, okay, so they made some new grid codes. In that they told that after particular power, suppose your power farm is generating a particular power level, okay, and suppose it is falling the high power category as per their norms, okay, then you cannot isolate your grid. Sorry, you cannot isolate your microgrid from the grid. Okay, so you have to protect your microgrid somehow. Okay, see, as a owner of PV farm, you have a small, you are a small PV farm. Okay, so as a owner of PV farm or as a private owner of PV farm, always you would like to align the your PV farm or microgrid when there are major disturbances happen in the grid side, okay, to safeguard your microgrid, okay. But now what grid codes are telling that if your power level of your PV farm is more than certain power level, then you cannot isolate your PV farm, okay, because if the large power is getting isolated, then there might be a stability issue, okay. So therefore they have given some other conditions. Let me check if I have that slide with me. Let me just check it. So therefore isolation or islanding is only valid only for the low power networks, okay. So let me just check if I have that slide with me where those you can see the some documentation for I think I do not have that. Yeah, I have it. Yes, just give me a minute. Yeah, I have it. Let me just. Can you see the new PPT which I opened now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah. Let me. Yeah. So if you look at this, okay. If you look at this diagram, okay. So this is now basically it is given by the somehow given by the new grid codes, okay. So if you go to the Central Electricity Authority website, possibly you may get those grid codes. So what they are saying that whatever you have, whatever renewable sources you have, it may be a wind, it may be a PV, okay. So when your voltage falls down, so if you look at, let's say, the start of fault happens here, okay, and now if you look at this zone, this is lined one zone, okay. So they are telling that even though voltage goes to 0 up to for 150 millisecond, okay, your inverter should be, or your microgrid should get connected to the system, to the grid, okay. And then they have given the RAM kind of structure, okay, where, okay, then if this violate this limit, then okay, you may disconnect, okay. So such kind of RAM structure is given by the the new grid codes, okay. It is also given by our country as well, okay. And the farm owners, it may be wind farm or PV farm owners, they have to abide with these conditions. So whatever you are saying that you see, IEEE standards are weak standards, okay. Of course they need to be followed, okay, but to specifically follow, we have to rely on the grid codes are codes given by our own country. Okay, so you should look at the particularly like IEC standards, which are also we are following in India. Similarly, we have to look into the what Central Electricity Authority is giving. Okay, so if you go to the either Central Electricity Authority or you go to the MNRE website, you will get those codes or those limits which are imposed by the governments. Okay, so that our rooftop, either rooftop or we have PV farm owner for small PV farm, how they work. Okay, so even they give the, what earlier what was happening, earlier all the inverters were these square wave inverters. Okay, they were not putting filter and those things, all those things. Okay, so now they have imposed the harmonic of PCC voltage. Okay, so it may not be, it is not, it didn't come to the our home level right now. But suppose we have a small PV farm. Okay, at that level they have put the limits that, okay, your harmonics in the voltage should not be more than this limit. Okay, so those limits and those codes, we have to follow the our MNI website or the codes given by the our Central Electricity Authority. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
is that
Okay. Thank you,
clear?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So next question is from Sanjay Kumar Nayak, sir. So
Okay.
he wants to understand what is the effect of HVDC converter stations on the networks and connected power plant. He's working in Larsen and Toubro Power as a manager. So he is
Okay.
interested in understanding. Many of the times, utility asks about subsynchronous oscillation studies also to understand the
Ha
effect
ha
of
ha.
these HVDC converter stations on the power
Okay.
plant, typically thermal power plants performance.
Okay.
So being expert of power quality, he wants to understand your expert opinion.
See, in case of HVDC plant, as a power quality is okay, but I have not worked on HVDC.
Okay.
But on what I understand in HVDC, see, in DC side you do not to worry about DC side, because you are looking for the subsynchronous oscillations at the generator side, right? Okay. So what, of course, it needs the analysis. Okay, it needs the very detailed analysis. Okay, so at the converter side, okay, so at the AC side of the converter, we have filters, right? We have filters and they are well designed filters. Okay, and therefore the harmonic level might not be so high. Okay, because it also depend on what kind of HVDC. See, I'm not very sure what kind of HVDC inverters we are using in the India right now. Okay, see, if you look at the those HVDC converters, they have, 6 level, 12 level, and then the 16 level. So depend on number of levels. Uh, as you go on increase number of levels, the level of harmonic on S side will decrease. Okay, so you have to understand that. Okay, and 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 uh, what I had, some years back, that we have some we have some uh, SSRs, some synchronous reactances, okay, which were thyristor based. We have installed that in our country. Okay, but because of that, because of the harmonic problem, the people are getting the problem. Okay, so that may happen. Okay, so first you have to analyze that. Okay, how much harmonics you are getting on your AC side. Okay, and from that harmonics, of course, uh, they are mostly the high frequency harmonics. Okay, and whatever you are saying, the subsynchronous resonance, they are coming from the low frequency harmonics. So so what I feel, that personally I feel that subsynchronous harmonics, this thing may not be problem due to the HVDC converters. Okay, unless and until they are like unsymmetrical converters or so. Okay, see, the subsynchronous oscillations are basically due to low frequency oscillations. Okay, generally 25 hertz or below that. Okay, and whatever the those converters, uh, sometimes it may create also, but you have to see which kind of converters are there. Okay, some converters create such kind of oscillations. Okay, but we have to see that uh, that which kind of converters are there. But generally, those converters, they produce the high frequency harmonics, not the low frequency harmonics. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, nowadays,
But
yeah, please.
yeah, but one may analyze, because nowadays, see, earlier we were using the thyristors. Okay, when I was doing my undergraduation, I have visited the Chandrapur Padke HVDC line. Okay, so at that time they were commissioning the HVDC in the Chandrapur area. Okay, so at that time they were using the thyristor based control. At that time technology was very at the very new level. Okay, so what kind of thyristors they were using? Okay, and it must be mostly line commutated thyristors. Okay, so even if we use the line commutated thyristors, then after at the inverter side we use the filters. Okay, and after using filters, okay, they generally generate the they generally generate the high frequency harmonics. Okay, and whatever now that gentleman was asking, that subsynchronous resonance, it may create problem because of the filters. Okay, so filters have some inductance and some C. Okay, and those filters have typical those filters, they give the short circuit path for the to absorb some of the harmonics. Okay, and so those filters may create the subsynchronous resonance. Okay, at particular frequency with the with the impedance of the system. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please try to understand. See, any filter is something like, uh, any filter is something like they are how they are eliminating the harmonics. Okay, they are basically giving the short circuit. Let's say I designed one LC filter. Okay, and that LC filter is designed in such a fashion that it is giving the short circuit. It is tuned that it is giving the short circuit path to the fifth harmonic. Okay, so okay, fine. Now that LNC has some value of LNC, right? Okay, and that that LNC, or you can say, let's say the inductive filter. Okay, let's say inductive filter. Okay, so that inductive filter value, okay, may have the resonance with the system impedance. Okay, system impedance. Okay, at some other frequency, maybe at 25 hertz. Okay, and so you have the capacitor switching at various station levels. Okay, switched capacitors. Okay, at various station levels. Okay, so that switched capacitance may have, okay, may have resonance with the filter inductance at 25 hertz, or may have at 20 hertz. Okay, so at that time your that subsynchronous oscillations may occur. Okay, and that subsystem oscillations, okay, may create problem to your your SSR thing, to your generator station. Okay, now is it okay now? So I think I have, to certain level, I have answered the question.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so one has
Sir,
to analyze
yes,
that. Okay.
yes, sir. Sir, especially after that experience of more and more penetration of renewables in Germany, it is observed that many people are working nowadays on inertia of the system. So, what is your expert opinion? Can we use that change in inertia of the system for in the area of islanding? That means when islanding is occurring, there is definitely some change in inertia of the system. So, uh,
No,
we
again,
want your yeah.
no, I'm coming to that. See,
Yeah.
what we will do, that is different aspect. Okay. Yeah, whatever you are saying, that is correct. Okay. Not only in Germany, that's what I'm saying, that if you look at the grid codes given by around 5 years before, uh, by the Central Electricity Authority. Okay. They are also telling that for high power applications, okay, our generating stations, either wind farm or PV farm, they should work like our normal our normal synchronous generator. Okay, means now what happens to a normal synchronous generator? We have primary frequency response, we have secondary frequency response, we have tertiary frequency response, right? And primary frequency response is nothing but our inertia by the normal generating units, right? Okay, so similarly they are telling that you have to operate your inverters or your wind farm or your PV farm, that they should produce the inertial response, okay, as like our conventional generators. Okay, now this is not applicable to low power network right now. Okay, this is not applicable to low power network right now. So for islanding, this problem is not arising actually. Okay, but yes, it may be in the future. It may be in the future. So we have to see both the things. Okay.
Sir, this is Ganesh here. I want to ask two questions related to your presentation. You have shown one islanding detection in the percentage and unbalance. Okay. So in that
Yeah.
unbalanced algorithm, if you have included the positive sequence voltages angle and positive sequence voltages magnitude, instead
Yeah.
of that, can we take a negative sequence component in that also to get the fast detection of the islanding?
I think yeah, can be possible. Yes, can be possible. Yes, yes.
So that it will go faster. No?
Will it get more faster? Negative sequence?
I'm
Will it
asking
be?
that will it affect the response? How it will going to affect the response if you include the negative sequence?
I think okay. Negative sequence also can be okay. We have to check it. Why I'm not now? I don't exactly recall that. Why I took only positive? Yeah, we can take negative as well, right? Yes, a good question. But I'm exactly not recalling our discussion with this student what happened at that time. But I think we can take negative as well. No problem in that. Okay. With negative also, it will work better than definitely it will work better than the RMS value, normal RMS value. Okay.
Sir, another thing. Can you elaborate something on the open research area in this topic? So how anyone can proceed in for the research area, because many are the researcher are here. Okay, so if
Okay.
they want to choose this area, so what are the open topics in this research area?
Well, here you can see that because you can see something like something like maybe stability issues can be considered here, like exactly how it will hamper the stability. Okay, these islanding things. Okay, so this may be one kind of thing that people have not much worked on this thing. Okay, so and mm, and then of course another issue may be like can we can we uh, can we again see for can we again go for some standards, some change in standards. Okay, some change in standards. Okay, so that is another way of doing it. Okay, so these two areas I could say that okay, they are now open in this area. Okay. And actually there are many areas associated with this islanding, I'm telling you. Okay, uh, it's not just detection. Okay, it is not just detection. So something is called as some after detection, so after isolation, how inertial response will be taken care. That also one area, so after detection, after isolation, how the inertial response will be there. Okay, So after isolation, there are many areas to work actually. Okay, then smart way of how we can make the, after isolation we have to manage the power balance between the source and the local load. So how we can manage that? Okay, so energy management also can be a good area after detection.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We had come across one problem related to the frequency stability. Whenever their islanding is happen, there is a typical case of the petrol pumps. I have asked this question to the yesterday speaker also. Okay, and
Uh-huh.
somewhat I'm expecting then more details about that. A petrol pump is running with on the PV cell. Okay, whenever they get
Okay.
disconnected from the grid, okay, they are get means they are islanded. Okay, when they get disconnected from the grid, so when they are
Okay.
with the grid, the PCC frequency is the reference for the operation of inverter. But when they
Right.
isolate, how the frequency reference should be taken in the inverter, because frequency reference is lost, and suddenly PLL should get some frequency reference. So how the PLL will get that frequency reference?
I think in control we have to make some changes. Okay. See, once the islanding has happened, okay, then once the islanding has happened, see what happens in the, suppose you say it's an isolated plant. Okay. In isolated plant, what happens that how do we maintain the frequency of the at 50 hertz? Okay, so while generating the gate pulses in the inverter, okay, what we do basically, we uh, we compare the sinusoidal reference signal with the carrier waveform, right? It may be a triangular one, right? Okay, so and then so sinusoidal frequency and the carrier waveform, those two are compared. Okay, and we are getting plus minus gate pulse in the inverter. Okay, and the fundamental frequency of the PCC voltage, that is the inverter output voltage, is nothing but the frequency of our reference sinusoidal waveform. Is it right? Okay, so when you lost the grid, so somehow you have to come to the that frame of mind, to the something is like that virtual PLL frame of mind of thing, something like that. Okay, and that virtual PLL will generate the 50 hertz frequency. Okay, so that virtual PLL will give that phase angle. So okay, so from that virtual PLL something kind of, which will have the 50 hertz frequency, and that will create the phase angle of that sinusoidal reference frequency. Okay, sorry, sinusoidal reference signal. Okay, to the sorry, that virtual PLL will give the frequency, will decide the frequency of that sinusoidal reference signal, which will be the 50 hertz. Okay, so you have to have some adjustment in the PLL. Okay, so once PLL input will be, so when do normal operation, during grid kind of operation, so PLL input will be from the grid side, grid PCC. Okay, and when islanding has happened, then that PLL input to the PLL, you have to change from that mode to virtual mode. Okay, which will be 50 hertz fixed frequency. Okay, so that way we have to do it. So exactly how it is implemented, that I don't know. We have to see it. Okay, we have to see some, but it must be there. It must be there in the literature. You can see some literatures.
Yeah,
It
yes,
must
sir.
be there
Thank
in
you,
the,
sir.
yeah. It must be there in the literature, and you can tell your supplier, I don't know, because supplier may not give right now. That is what is happening in the technical industry. Okay, they
Yes,
are
sir.
not
Yes.
giving in any solution. Okay, for example, I am telling you, right now all PV inverters are MPPT inverters. Okay,
Yes, sir.
but suppose your load is not requiring that much power, and suppose you have islanded operation. Okay, you are the isolated islanding operation. Okay, and your load is not requiring that much power. Okay, and you are working on the MPPT only. Okay, so it is something like, so they are only focusing on MPPT. They're not focusing on the other control, like deload operation of PV or something like that. Okay, so that power balance can be maintained between the PV power and the load. Okay, so that technology problem will be there. Okay, in actual practice. Okay, whatever research we do it. Okay, one more example I am giving you. One more example I am giving you. Okay, for example, nowadays inverter. Okay, so inverter uh, uh, inverter has some uh, protection. Okay, inverter has some protection, and they are saying that okay, you isolate the inverter. Okay, but the inverter has some protection. Okay, and that inverter, so we have some relay and circuit breaker, right? So we have to operate the relay, right? So let's say you have a microgrid with the inverters, okay, and you have relay at the other side, okay, relay and circuit breaker. Okay, so relay has to sense the increasing current, right? Okay, but what happens to the this inverter, because of the presence of inverter? Okay, so inverter has its own control, and in the control of inverter there is a limit in the current. Okay, so even though fault happens, okay, even though fault happens, the because of that inverter control, the current may not go beyond that level, and the relay may not operate. Okay, so what now they are doing in many developed countries, what they are doing, they are putting the inverter with the 3 times more the required kV capacity. Okay, so that the inverter should not operate at lower value, and the relay can detect the fault. Okay, so that technological gap will be there as far as actual implementation will be concerned, and maybe that will be sorted out in the near future. Slowly it will be sorted out. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so shall I conclude?
Yes. No
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
On the behalf of Department of Electrical Engineering, KK Wag Institute of Engineering Education and Research, Nashik, I would like to thank Dr. Chandrasekhar Bhende sir for accepting our invitation and giving the enlightening the our today's topic on the islanding detection in inverter-based distributed generation. Thank you for your support, sir, and you have given very nice information and what are the open research area also in this area, as well as how you have implemented the islanding detection in your research. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us, and thank you all participants also.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Participants, tomorrow we will start sharp at the 10:25. So we start at the 10:25. In 2 days, you might be observed that we are starting the sessions on time. So that please be on time for the sessions. Thank you.